right, welcome back for another movie review. I'm going to dust off what they would consider oldie but goodie, but to me, once art is created, there is no expiration date. So this one was a film debut in 2019. It's one of my top 20, I guess, movie, and it's See You Yesterday. The reason why I like this film is because, for one, it's not my genre. I'm not a big Back to the Future person. Those type of movies, I don't discredit them. It's just not my genre. I'm big on independent films and love movies. So anytime I watch a movie out of my comfort zone, I try to give the person who directed it a break, because I may just be not as knowledgeable about the genre. Let's go through a quick synopsis of the movie, and I want to give my thoughts, because the reason why I'm reviewing this a whole year later is because I want this to be one of those that individuals still, if you haven't seen it, to go and support. If we're showing that we're supportive of movies like that are different on a scope dealing with specifically African American actors and actresses, more things can be done. And this is on this is on the wave of Black Panther, that oftentimes when movies are pitched, I'm sure that they probably say things like, will this go over with this particular crowd? And this is a movie I still want to do well. And if I was teaching film, this would be a movie that I would require to be watched as showing culture crossing the lines of genres in film. All right. So according to Rotten Tomatoes, See You Yesterday marries a novel sci-fi premise with urgent social relevance and forges something excitedly new from the Union, providing an impressive showcase across actors. And so let me go over here to IMDb. And it got a 5.1. I don't know why. For me, it's like a 10 out of 10, and I'm going to talk about why. You have two Brooklyn teenage prodigies, CJ and Sebastian. They build a makeshift time machine to save CJ's brother Calvin from being wrongfully killed by a police officer. I'm about to start. If I cried doing this review, I'm sorry. Because I'm a big family person and I saw their dynamic, although the brother was older, I was always the oldest sister. And I felt a sense of wanting to be protective of my family member. And so you have these brilliant young adults. So you got CJ and her friend Sebastian tinkering around in the garage, creating what they believe is a time machine. So when you take this idea, also their teacher is Michael J. Fox. Well done. And so when you pair that with the fact that their teacher it foreshadows that their teacher is Michael J. Fox, and he gives them, what a teacher does, some tutelage, like, okay, be careful what you're doing. I'm gonna let you do what you're doing, but be careful. Then you move forward and you have such a tragedy happening as the situation her brother is faced with. Oh, I'm about to start crying. And the reason why I'm crying is because it makes me sad, because I've lost a family member due to violence, but it wasn't a police officer. I don't know if it was a rival gang. We never did know, but he was gunned down at such a young age, and we never did get any clear details. It was my mom's brother, my uncle. And it really did stick with our family. And when I'm looking at this young lady, she's moving forward with... So when the situation happened with her brother, what I remember, what really sticks out to me is that she didn't even really allow herself to grieve, because she was so bent on having already the solution. Oh, I'm going to start crying. And the reason why that sits with me, because if I was her age in her age group, I could have seen me being the exact same. I'm going to fix this. I'm sitting on a time machine, and I wouldn't have had a time machine, but I'm sitting on this solution. And I've had that happen. When my granddad passed away, I was away in another state, and I just knew I was going to come home, put holy oil on him, because the Bible said, put a holy oil on him and God is going to restore this man to his body, because everybody is wrong. I got a solution. And so when you're faced with the idea that I didn't even allow myself to grieve, because I just knew I had the solution to this problem. We just going to pray this up off, and it just couldn't. So when I saw the young lady grind her gears, it became pertinent now. The time machine, before, the idea was just having fun. It became pertinent to save her brother. And you can see the youth in it, because It was never like, let's go to the day before it happened and lock him in a basement and let him come out, you know. It always came back to that event, which I thought was, you know, just shows the youth. But, and the decisions that you make whenever all you want to do, one thing, it was like also bridging the butterfly effect and the chaos theory of a butterfly flapping its wing and it causing these ripple effects, that every time she switched up something, when she went back, it caused issues to erupt with in another ecosystem. So then you're moving forward. So do I feel that it was a great movie and the producers and the writers and everybody did their job? Yes. You had great acting. You had these youthful teens trying to come up with research and moving forward with what they've been doing and to use it for, what do you call it when you're trying to save somebody? It's a word for it. But when they're trying to save someone, then you mix that with like, they were bartering, they were working with, you know, fixing things just to buy supplies. It was just so many ideas in here that you don't necessarily see when films are generated with the idea of marketing to specifically persons of color. So these young people was on the side, had side hustles, in which instead of they could have went the typical route of doing things that are not necessarily ethical. They were just fixing cell phones and neighborhood supplies and laptops and stuff for a small fee to fund their creating of this time machine. Then next you move forward with the idea of the interaction with their science teacher. That's not something that often comes up in Africa. Like the focus on the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, had me at hello. So then you move forward with the interaction between, it was like a Caribbean grandmother and grandfather, Sebastian. And so you add those, it's just so many layers that was like necessary. Then you bring in the New York, and then you bring in the fact that she was so lovely and her friend was too, and the brother was Calvin. Let me get his real name because I love him. I used to watch him in Red, was it called Red Tape or Red? I'm about to tell y'all. Was it Astro? Anytime I see Astro, I know, I'm about to start crying because I think about his character was so, like, Astro, every time I see him in anything, I love it. And I'm trying to remember the name of the show because I wouldn't mind going back and binge watching the show he was on where the teenagers had critical illnesses and they were banned into, I'm about to find it. This is easy enough. Red Band Society, Dash. Show was. So his acting is superb. Like, if I was in the industry, I would throw stuff at him. Not any old thing, but some good stuff, because it's going to fly. Anyway, so the main character is faced with the idea of having to time travel in order to save her brother, and whether or not she is going to continue to switch up. She continues to have to tinker with things in order to get good outcomes. And this repeats itself over and over again. And what I learned through this is that how much she loves her brother, and I would have done the same. And the part that always makes me tear up, I'm such a baby, is the part when he realizes what's going on. And of course he sees certain elements that triggers him, that the brother knows that something's up, and she explains to him what is going on. And then she said, I'm going to fix this. Like, she was very adamant that she was going to fix the problem, and this is all going to work. I'm such a baby. Because when I think about family, it just makes me cry. She was just going to fix this problem. And so when she was headed back to the future, he turned to her and looked and said, in the alleyway, I see you yesterday. And when I saw that, it bothered me because I'm thinking about all the things that are going on in the community. You have all of the nonviolent crimes are taking place. And we just had the whole situation with, I think his name is Aubrey the runner, had Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin. And I was just thinking, like, what if they had an opportunity to turn around and say, I'll see you yesterday. And that it was an opportunity to go back in time and save every one of their lives. Like, I just think about that. And I think about, let me get it together so I can do this review. I think about how much she was trying, and if we had the opportunity, I'm sure Trayvon Martin's mother would have did, like, if she had the opportunity to do like a time machine, she would have did the same thing. I'm trying to get they save my baby. And it just made me think like, it just, how it hybrid two ideas together, and it made everything so finite that this thing had to happen. And I just wish police brutality didn't ever have to happen. And that this could have been and although it needed to happen in this film because it's a reality, but what if they would have just been able to go back in time just to have fun? And my point being is that African Americans in film specifically seem to have more, when it comes to the writing and the plot line, have more situations and concerns to worry about than counterparts. Like with Marty McFly, his situation had to do with like making sure his mama doesn't flirt with him and when he went back to the future. Whereas when she was trying so hard to keep to keep her brother from passing away. And when he caught on to what was happening, I think he just conveyed whenever he said, I see you yesterday. Like, I don't know. I'm trying not to cry about think about it. I really get tore up because it was just like that moment where that you hate to see certain things happen. I'm doing everything I can to save your life. I'm doing everything that I possibly can do. And no matter what stuff is going to happen. Let me quit crying. I don't even cry like this. But anyway, it was definitely a good film. I do encourage, I don't want to give any spoiler alerts. I do encourage every individual to go and support this. Would I let little kids watch it? Because I lived in a very liberal household. We watched, when I was young, Boys in the Hood. I was so tiny. Boys in the Hood and things like that. So my house, my opinion is not one to... if I would let my kids watch it if I had them, because I know that when I was growing up, my parents are very liberal about those type of things. But if you're a person who really has issues with content and you're not at a place where you're ready to explain this to your children, then maybe opt out. But there was definitely some themes here that would be worth talking about with their children as they get older, especially if you are from the African American community. Like, what does the communication and dialogue look like when faced with interaction in a situation specifically where the police are involved? I don't know individuals, communities, but this took place in Brooklyn, New York. So that would be where a conversation would definitely need to be had. At the time, like thinking about where I'm got roots in like the St. Louis area. So if I had a young son of color, we would definitely watch this and have those conversations. I think it breaks the ice on having that conversation. But in that scene, I tell you, boy, every time I look at that scene, because I done watched this multiple times, and I see him turn around immediately, like it's real, of like Trayvon Martin's face, Orlando Castile, like Sandra Bland, all of their faces become his face when he turned around and say, "See you yesterday." So, good job. Good movie. 10 out of 10. If you watched it, go back and watch it. Support this. I just rewatched it the other day. That's why I'm doing a review so late. And I'm just now starting this channel. So, and I wanted to put that on there because it was just the merging of the STEM focus with such a very relevant conversation about police brutality. It could not have been done better.